After my mother died giving birth, my father raised me. My dad worked hard to be a good parent, unlike other NDs. My grandparents' house was where I often stayed while he worked. I'm religious because my grandmother made me attend church twice a week. She wouldn't know I doubted the Bible. I served tables and tried acting in California for 24 years before someone noticed me. One typical night at my restaurant employment, a noisy group started shouting and acting like they had never left the house. That night changed my life. My manager and I informed them of their leaving. They talked before my manager threatened to contact the cops. They left after realizing that, but threatened us again. I considered it finished, was wrong. I felt uncannily monitored walking to my car after closing. Something smacked my head before I got in my car. I later discovered that the loudest member was swinging a bat when we asked them to leave. I may have fainted briefly. From the dirt, I saw him swing the bat again. As he swung me back and forth, I called out for aid in the fetal position and passed out. I suddenly enter a large white room. I couldn't identify walls, ceilings, doors, or windows. I called hello. Do not ask why. Assume my death. I believed Jesus, an angel, a deceased relative, or someone else would help me enter the afterlife. However, that didn't happen, so I waited long. Finally, I remembered a lesson my grandma gave me often as a child. She adds, if you ever find yourself in a situation you can't get out of, just pray to Jesus, and he will save you. Yes, I kneeled, closed my eyes, and prayed like never before. I don't know how long I prayed, but a faint voice instructed me to stand. Jesus appeared when I opened my eyes. His dark hair reflected his Middle Eastern ancestry. Brown belts cinched his modest white robe. I had several questions for him. But is this heaven? Was my first. Jesus replied with a smile that could light up the universe, yet his lips stayed still. My head was filled with his words. He said, "You are only here temporarily, and someone wants to meet you." My thoughts raced. Standing by Jesus. Who else can I contact? I felt like I should know the woman alongside Jesus who appeared instantly. Then I realized she was my mother. As a child, my father showed me her picture often. I felt welcome because Jesus and her were so nice. I called Mom. She moved forward to hug me energetically. She loved me instead of being horrified. She spoke like Jesus. I heard the words in my head despite her lips not moving. She advised me to quit blaming myself for her death and expressed her joy that we would spend eternity together. I would leave Earth soon as my time here was not over. I prayed Jesus to keep me. I don't want to go back. Jesus told me my journey was set, like a river to the ocean. He smiled again and informed me I had a purpose to make earthly sorrow worthwhile. Jesus touched my head, and I saw various things. It felt like a futuristic movie. I wondered, is that my future? After Jesus left, "That may be your future," he said. "You will have numerous chances to change direction while keeping your free will, but the last one will primarily depend on your past choices." Will I remember when I return? I'm intrigued. You may feel like you know what's next, but you won't recall. I wanted to stay here and finish things with Jesus and my mother, but I had to get back to my body. It felt more like a duty to myself, my parents, or someone else, even though it wasn't a mission. Did I decide to come back? Maybe something was provided, but I had to. After that, my restaurant manager raced to my aid after hearing my cries for help. Before he could take the bat from my assailant and run away, the bat hit him in the shoulder. The doctor then told me I had multiple broken ribs and a concussion. After leaving the hospital, my ears started ringing, but I didn't complain because I was afraid the doctor would keep me longer. Weeks passed, so I knelt to pray again, just like in that large white room when I first saw Jesus. In the morning, the sound stopped. I used to hate the Bible, but now I believe in Jesus Christ and God. I can't wait to transition. Maybe my experience may help someone. Regards, Peter. While performing chores on April 3, 2008, I felt a severe pain in my abdomen, as if something were burrowing in my stomach. The discomfort was growing terrible, and I passed out. When I woke up at the hospital, my spouse was there. The doctor diagnosed me with acute appendicitis, a small organ at the end of a tube that can rupture and cause life-threatening inflammation and pain. Appendicitis excision surgery was recommended by my doctor, who informed me that it was routine and safe. I carefully considered the treatment. I had a successful endoscopic appendix removal that afternoon. The surgeon informed me everything went smoothly. The procedure went well, but I had to stay in the hospital to recuperate. The doctor found staph bacteria in my incision, requiring another surgery. In my second surgery, even though I was unconscious, sounds could be heard. As they talked about my 2-year-old daughter, whom I might never see again, I heard the doctor sigh. They talked about my husband, father, and family. Why? I'm still here. They ought to have distinct speech patterns. They know I can hear them. Doctors utilized sterile equipment to remove most of my body, which was infested with staph germs. Nobody could establish the cause of my infection during my initial operation. The oxygen tube in my throat prevented me from speaking when I woke up in the intensive care unit. My family was devastated. I gave a victory gesture when the doctor inquired how I was feeling. I overheard the doctor talking to my parents. Mom asked the doc her situation. What should we do now? Hello, doctor, my spouse asked. The staph has just started to spread, but it is quite dangerous. How serious? Very serious, said the doctor. There could be brain damage now. To treat the germs in her body, we are thinking about giving her antibiotics, but there are risks. You would lose her in days if we stop the medication. After the hospital ran out of beds, my parents and spouse went home in despair. I wanted to tell the nurse next to me my throat hurt, but I couldn't. I asked the nurse for paper and pen. A nurse heard me say, "My throat hurts." It's normal to be a little uncomfortable, but she can't take the tube off. My nurse stroked my head. Life-changing events occurred 2 hours later. One nurse said her daughter would be picked up from school. The other nurse told me she needed water. After the nurses left, sputum and heavier breathing occurred. No oxygen reached my lungs since the tube was obstructed. Shouting was forbidden. My body twisted helplessly. Moments felt like hours. The alarm rang, and physicians and nurses flooded my room. I heard their frantic shouts. They requested an expert team. Like madmen shouting. Despite breathing, I could hear everything. The doctor tried to draw FL fluid using a tube. My heart stopped beating and respiration halted, left my body. I opened my eyes again and saw myself floating in my hospital gown. I felt comfortable again. There were physicians all over me. I felt a strange power loss. It seemed to pull me out of this world as it approached. I felt terrified and unsure. I declined since I didn't want to leave my body or family. I worried I would never use this power. My effort was fruitless since the strength was overwhelming. I gave up and left Earth. This strength overcame me. A beautiful experience began. Massive treetops were hidden. The tree shone. Many little animals circled the tree aimlessly. It was peaceful and full of affection I had never known. Voices penetrated my soul. My body relaxed as I stood. There was inner and outer peace. I saw more wildlife. Never had I seen so many wild animals. They were different colored and looked different from Earth species. They all seemed nice, like we knew each other. I moved on. There were several kids. Origins and skin tones vary. Each was gorgeous and unique. Every child smiled. On the fields, they ran and played. The lovely garden they ran in drew my eye. The center had the neighborhood's largest fountain. I went to the garden on a busy day. Middle-aged and young people. Happiness and harmony were evident. Lots of love and smiles. Colorful flowers surrounded the fountain. Sitting, smiling people spoke. It felt like talking to their consciousness. In the garden, people read. Never felt pain or injury here. I suddenly considered my parents and hubby. I knew they hurt. When I realized they would arrive later, I relaxed. I passed a large group of seniors. Every senior smiled and was excited. They walked down a beautiful river in a flower garden. Suddenly, a distant light appeared. Will I end up here? We grew closer, strengthening my affection. Light seemed to call me to my last aim. I carefully approached the light and felt its tranquility and warmth. I felt it surrounding me. The light brought me true love and tranquility for the first time. I felt lighter and freer. In this stunning place, I was thrilled. I'm grateful to the mysterious force that brought me here and gave me this great feeling. One hand touched my head. I felt so loved then. A soothing voice whispered, "Remain calm. I had many questions, but I had to go home. Am I only returning Rue? I was in a hospital bed watching paramedics revive me when I discovered that this odd energy was still in me. I felt love and calm like never before and was not ready to return to my body. I have too much to do, he said. I'm needed by far too many people. I knew I had a job. After the mystery force brought me back to life, my eyes hurt. Many physicians encircled me. It burned my chest. I asked quickly. I yelled, "No!" I refused to return, but no one listened. I felt desperate because I wanted to get away. I went to sleep slowly. It seemed like no one was interested in me and that they would rather see me suffer again. While I was gone, my heart stopped pounding. My doctor insisted. After a while, my heartbeat returned. Overnight, a doctor spent time with me. After hearing my story, the doctor remained silent. He then related stories of near-death encounters, adding that many people had similar experiences. He suggested that this concealed energy might represent my great faith. I rejected my religious beliefs and asked if faith could explain this. After hearing the doctor's comments, I relaxed. When I returned home, I was confused because I couldn't understand the scenes. I felt and saw power and light, but my husband didn't believe me. "Honey, it was probably just a hallucination you had during the surgery," he said, hugging me. No doubt, it was weird and unfathomable. I replayed it in bed. I remembered the voice telling me I was busy and that many people relied on me. I sought to understand the voice by considering its meaning and purpose. My spouse didn't believe me, but I didn't disbelieve the experience. I knew my experience wasn't a hallucination or medicine adverse effect. It will change my life for years. I'm glad for life and the chance to succeed. This is my chance to live consciously.